Hi guys, welcome back. Uh, Following up on our video that we watched yesterday on geologic time, I thought it would be kind of cool if we were to go a little bit deeper into our ecological study of our focus organism and think about what have we known, what do we know, and what is the history over geologic time of the organism that we've studied. So for some of you with fungi, I'm going to give you some advice on maybe things to try to search. And again, searching and finding out information, it's not easy. This is going to be challenging. So with thinking about, especially bacteria, oh man, a couple of you, and then yeast, I'm so excited to find out when yeast evolved. So part of it is I got frustrated with the mud skipper because the information was really difficult to find. And so I said, this might be a little bit, challenging, but I'm going to give you some help and some guidance on what to do. So geologic timescale, you remember from our unit on Earth's history that we have the oldest on the bottom, that law of superposition with stratigraphy. The oldest rocks are laid down first, and therefore they're at the bottom. The Earth formed about 4.6 billion years ago, and there was a lot of time. Remember that strip of paper you made where there was so much time until any organisms showed up. At first, there were some bacteria and some things in the water, and then all of a sudden we had this explosion of life in the Cambrian. We've got three main geologic eras: the Paleozoic era, the Mesozoic era, and the Cenozoic era. And within the era, we've got periods. So that Paleozoic, the oldest is the Cambrian, and that's when that explosion of life took place. So I was thinking how cool it would be if you put this slide into your presentation. I didn't get an opportunity to label this slide, and it doesn't have a label, so I should probably do that. Let me exit from here and go back to this slide, and then maybe say geologic time scale, and then I can hit present so that you can see how beautiful that is. And we've got that written on the slide. You can definitely come back to the slide. You can definitely draw arrows on this slide. Some of you guys, your graphic ability and your graphic design ability is way better than mine. So this will be, I believe, slide 16. Is where we left off. Some of you are adding additional slides. Totally okay. Just make sure that your table of contents corresponds with the slides that you have and what's on those slides. So the next thing I want to know is, what do we know about mudskipper evolution? And then in order to know about mudskipper evolution, I can't really search mudskipper evolution, because watch what happens. And you can see I've been searching. Mudskipper evolution. And some of the information, do mudskippers and lungfishes elucidate the early evolution? And so I clicked on that. That file wasn't really helpful. Are mudskippers evolving? So like our current mudskippers living today evolving? Their genetic adaptations, evolution of fins. And so that could have been a part of it. But I was like, I want to know more about fins. Wikipedia, I didn't really like that. And you can see I sort of gave up. Be careful with websites when you search evolution. You might get websites that are trying to give you false evidence, or they're going to perpetuate myths instead of actually science evidence. And so you do want to make sure that you're using a site that looks reasonable. And so mudskipper evolution did not work for me. And then I thought, crap. So maybe I'll go back to my slides and I'll go back up to my biological classification. And I can't really search eukarya evolution because that's all cells with a nucleus. And then I thought, animal evolution. Man, if I search animal evolution, animals evolved in like really the Cambrian with those initial shelled creatures and the mollusks and insects. And I thought, oh, hey, chordates, backbones, again, that was pretty early on. And so I want to get specific enough. And so where I went next was my class, Actinopterygii. And that actually translates in English to ray-finned fishes. And so my class of organisms, so of all chordates, there's really 5 classes. There's mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and fish. But within that category of fish, we have some narrower choices with, like, the sharks are a different category than the ray-finned fishes. And so the ray-finned fish is a category of fish that my mud skipper actually belongs in. But my mud skipper isn't just like every other ray-finned fish, because like a sea bass and a trout and a salmon, they're all ray-finned fishes. So I was like, let me search ray-finned fish ecology and see what comes up. And so I went over here, not ecology, sorry, evolution. So I put ray-finned fish evolution. And I came up first with some diagrams, and you know that I love me some diagrams, and my brain really likes looking at those. And then my science word for ray-finned fish, actinopterygii, was on here as well. The UCL is a museum in the UK, so that could be interesting. So I was looking down, Britannica, I checked that out. I didn't really like that a lot. And so I was like, you know what? Oh, the new timescale for ray-finned fish evolution, the NCBI, the National Institute of Health.gov. So I clicked on that and I noticed this is an actual scientific paper, which they're really hard to read. Number one, they're really densely packed with information, and they're really specific. The abstract of a scientific paper is like the summary. So when you pull up something that is a scientific paper, take a second and read that abstract, at least skim through it, because it'll help you know maybe what to search next. And it also tells me this is a legitimate scientific study. Scientific studies that have been published often have been required to have peer review. So other scientists have had to actually read this and say, you know what, it's okay that you say this. We see that we understand how you collected data and your process and all of that. And it helps eliminate people just publishing things that aren't true, and people just making claims that aren't based on evidence. And so these ray-finned fish are the largest, most diverse vertebrate group, but little is agreed about the timing of its early evolution. All of a sudden I see there's a problem. It's still not 100% set in stone about the early evolution of ray-finned fishes. So I'm just going to present information that we know so far, trying my best to use a credible source. The other thing I need to point out to you is please don't copy and paste. This is not an exercise in copying and pasting information. That's not the intent of this at all. The intent is for you to gather information and then for you to interpret it on your slide for us. If you want to copy and paste an image, great, but please don't copy and paste text. Some of the stuff that's been handed in, I'm like, I don't even know that you guys understand what that means. And so then when you copy and paste it, it sounds weird. So this article, if I keep reading, estimates include mitochondrial genomic DNA. So we're getting real specific here. Suggests that the major groups are much older than divergent dates implied by fossils. Divergent date where they split off. So we have fossil evidence, we have genetic evidence, and so there's lots of things going on. Here, the timing of evolutionary origins of these groups, clades, is reinvestigated using morphological and nuclear and mitochondrial genetic data. It's 2020. We can do that. Remember the mitochondria in your cells are the powerhouse that take that energy, that take that sugar and turn it into cellular energy. That mitochondria actually has its own set of DNA. And you know what's awesome? That DNA is identical to your mother, because your mother's egg was the egg with the mitochondria. Your dad just dropped off sperm with DNA that matched the half of the DNA that was in the egg. Your mitochondria is maternal lineage. That's awesome. So this mitochondrial DNA is now we're able to use it with technology, and it's greater. Results indicate that existing fossil-based estimates of the age group of Neotopterygii include the gar and the bowfin are at least 40 million years too young. And so with the scheme of geologic time, 40 million years is kind of a little when you're talking about 550 million years ago. So as I'm reading this, I'm realizing, dang, Miss Yema, if I'm going to turn in my assignment, it's like there's really still a debate out there. So I'm going to make sure that maybe that information is included in my slide. I'm going to publish in my presentation what I can, knowing that this is current research. This is so cool. Remember, I could go to college and get my PhD in mud skippers? I know. Some of you guys are studying such cool things, and you could go get your PhD. So this biology paper was published in 2007, which sounds like a really long time ago, but I don't think a lot of people are studying mud skippers. There's so many other things in the world. Now, could mud skippers help us understand the ecology of mangroves and how things are changing? Sure. But there has to be funding to do that, and there really isn't funding to study mud skippers, at least that I know of. So I'm going to go backwards here for a minute and go back to ray fin fish evolution and go back to these diagrams that I noticed. And one of the ones that kind of stuck out to my eyeballs, right, like what looked good was this one. The first one looks good, but it's so tiny. And my brain was like, I don't know if I can deal with all this tiny stuff. So when I looked at this diagram, I thought, whoa, this is kind of cool. On the left-hand side, we've got geologic time. So I know about that. I know the Cambrian's the oldest. Pre-Cambrian, there wasn't any kind of fish. And then I've got the evolution of fishes and the evolution of tetrapods. And I know that tetra means 4 and pod means feet. So that idea that fish evolved first, and then the fins, those lobe-finned fishes, had ways to move around on land and evolved into tetrapods. Interestingly enough, you've seen that mud skipper. It's got that pectoral fin that kind of allows it to move around on land much easier. So that's an interesting connection. So I went ahead and put that slide of the ray-finned fishes into my presentation here. And I wanted to talk about the evolution of fishes. So instead of copying and pasting something, I basically wrote a summary of what is on the slide. So the very first fishes appeared in the fossil record in the Cambrian. So I look down here, and this down with the jawless fish. So these are things that don't really look like our traditional fish, but they appeared in the Cambrian. And you'll notice as the geologic time went on, and we're getting younger and younger, you see all that breaking off branches. That's diversity. That's diverging. That is groups of organisms evolving different adaptations and characteristics that put it into separate groups. So I'm focused on not the cartilaginous fish, those would be the sharks, and not a spiny sharks, not lobed fin fishes, which is interesting because my mud skipper isn't a lobed fin fish. And you can see the lobed fin fish. Ooh, the other thing to point out about these diagrams, which is really cool, the thickness of the line or the thickness of the chart is speciation. So it's not necessarily how many population, it's how many species. So like for example, humans, we are one species with a population of 7 billion people. Okay, this is showing you the diversity of different kinds of species. And we see with ray-finned fishes, they started out in early Devonian. The Silurian hardly has anything because in geologic time, that was a major period of erosion. So nothing got fossilized. Was something there? We don't know. But we do know it was there in the Cambrian. We do know there were jawless fishes in the Ordovician. And so then there's this like blank space where all of a sudden a lot started showing up in the Devonian. And so we make these inference connections because how else would they have gotten there? They didn't spontaneously evolve into a fish. So that Devonian is where things diversified. And then as time moved on, we had an extinction at the end of the Permian. You know about that extinction. And then we had extinction at the end of the Cretaceous. This extinction at the end of the Cretaceous didn't seem to affect ray-finned fishes that much. In fact, the ray fin fishes up into recent have really diverged into group of a class of organisms with a lot of orders, family, genus, and species. So I tried to explain that on the right there. As the fish evolved, they split off into different groups. The ray fin fish appeared in the Devonian, but it wasn't until after the Cretaceous when the group divided and there was so much diversity. I actually titled this slide Evolution of Fishes and Tetrapods, even though I didn't really talk about the tetrapods, but the tetrapods, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. So that group of organisms didn't really show up in the fossil record till the Carboniferous. So was there a connection here? Scientists think so. And is that connection set in stone with lots of evidence? Probably not. That's an inference, and that's why it looks like that. And then we get this speciation of amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And that's interesting because you've seen my mudskipper, and he kind of looks amphibious in a way, but he has gills and fins and all the characteristics of a fish. All right, so I was feeling really good about this, except it didn't really tell me anything about mudskippers. It told me about ray-finned fishes. And so I said, I want to keep that. Like, I've done a lot of work, and I want to keep that slide in there. But how do I get a little bit more specific? So I have already just identified the ray-finned fish. Now I want to go a little more specific to the gobiformes and the Oxudersinae. And then, of course, my genus and species, which my P. modestus, you may remember we're being really lenient on which exact species it is and even maybe our genus or our genera. So I said, let's look at gobiformes, and see what I can find. Let's see here. I don't want to close that out. Mudskippers. Oh, I have another idea that we can do too. Oh, this is something else too. This is an awesome video. I should show you part of this. So I did Gobiformes evolution fossil record. You see how it like pops right up? So I was like, what have we found in the fossil record? And then I thought evolutionary relationships and divergence. And so temporal phylogeny. And so I was like, I clicked on it. I don't think I liked it. Gobiformes Wikipedia, fine. Discovery of the oldest Gobis. So that could sound interesting and cool, although it's a .com, so I'm not sure. When I opened it up, it was a publication. Very cool. And as I looked through this article, sometimes the articles want you to pay, sometimes they won't let you see the whole thing, just the abstract. So this is the abstract, the summary. It's the largest families of vertebrates. They're distributed worldwide. However, the fossil record is sparse prior to the Miocene. And I know that the Miocene is after Cretaceous. I know the Pliocene is the Miocene is in the Cenozoic era. So that's pretty young, actually. But when I look back at my diagram of sorry, I keep going back and forth like this. It kind of makes sense because here's where the explosion took place. So the Miocene is up here. So the fact that we got orders and genera and families of showing up at the fossil record up there, that's why this diagram looks like that. So I was reading through a little bit more. I was actually looking for a picture of a fossil and I couldn't find one, which I'm kind of really frustrated about. I wanted to see a picture of a fossil of an ancient or an early mudskipper, and I couldn't find one. So then I decided to search, instead of Gobiformes, I was like, I wonder if I can get a little bit more specific and search the family. So with the family, so you remember, you can spell it right. I just copy and paste it, but I can't copy and paste right now. So Oxuderc. So Ox, and you can see I've already been searching it. It's coming up. And when I search my specific, and it looks like I spelled it wrong when I typed it in, ecology and evolution of mudskippers. That sounds awesome. So I clicked on that and perspectives and popular, and I see there's some cool diagrams here. Here's a diagram of maybe a location where mudskippers are found. Indonesia, Borneo, those would be kind of some cool places to visit. Hotspot ecoregion. In the future, I am going to ask you to pick a specific location to do a focus study. So as you're researching this and you're like, Sumatra, Borneo, I'm going to keep that in mind so that when I need to pick a location. And I looked at this article and I was like, I can't really grab from it. And it was really quick that I decided that. So I went back to my search and I decided the cladogram is a way to organize relationships, and this is what a cladogram is. But it didn't tell me anything about time. It tells me about how things are related. So everything started here, and then I had a branch off, and a branch off, and a branch off, and a branch off. And so as the species evolved and changed, they got more unique and specific, and they branched off, branched off, branched off. But I didn't like this because it didn't show me any time. Like, was that Cambrian? Was that Ordovician? So then I was like, let's go to images, because we love looking at images. And I see there's some similar images of things that I've already had, and I see it's not really bringing up what I want. So I saw, instead of looking at evolution, why don't we look at fossil record and see what we can find with fossil record. And I see, when I look at images of fossil records, it also really isn't helping me with any timelines or charts. So I'm going to search, when did Rayfin push it? What I looked at that: evolution, mudskipper fossil found, evolution of fish. So let me go back here, and let me go back to first appearance. So what was the first appearance of this group of fish? PDFs and some systematic critical steps. Let's see what that is. And so I get some more, it's the same diagram that I don't like, right? This is what research feels like. And I know that you want everything to happen quickly, but that's the glory of doing research like this as a scientist, is it takes time, it takes perseverance, and it's okay to stop and not find something. So it's okay that you're frustrated. There's not a lot of information out there. Now, I did find something, which why I'm frustrated is I can't figure out where I found it from. But let me look at the poster or the picture I found. I found this really evolution timeline. And I found this really cool evolution timeline of the group. So in the class of Rayfin fishes are the families of Gobiniformes and the order Oxydercinae. This middle part is the Oxydercinae. So this whole thing back in the Devonian was the early fishes. And you can see up in this part is the tetrapods. Down in this part are other ray-finned fishes. And here's where the mudskippers evolved. And you can see where they first appeared is in the Paleogene, which is after the Cretaceous. And so when that little bar leaves, you can kind of trace your line down to that. So let's search how I found this evolution timeline. And here's better, right? Like I can start seeing graphs and information. If I click on this, I can see that we start with different kinds of fish and we're moving to other kind of fish. I don't necessarily see the Gobiniformes here, which is a unique set of those. Here, like this diagram will show me more of like, here's mammals, here's reptiles, here's amphibian, here's lobe-finned fishes, here's ray-finned fishes. So that's super general and broad. broad. So looking for my diagram. Oh my gosh, look at that cute little thing there. And that's what happens too, is then you find other things. Here's that, picture of a mud skipper doing his thing. And sometimes when you click on some specific things, then you can go over here and scroll and you'll find more specifics. So I still am not having luck finding that diagram. And I think I did that. Or did I do gobaniformes? Goblin. How come I can't spell it? Isn't that crazy that I can't spell my own uh, thing that I'm studying? I know it is. Gobin. 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 The cladogram is what we call that organizational chart. And so a lot of times that might help you be more specific, but I cannot believe that I'm having a hard time finding, ooh, this one looks like it could be potentially successful. Let me put this in here and see, insert. And you would think I would have written down my sources, but of course I didn't because I was doing it, I got caught up in my thoughts there. So this guy might just be another ray-finned fish one. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it's right here. Here is the specific class of fishes that I'm studying, and it doesn't get specific enough. This is the evolution of ray-finned fishes. So it doesn't show my ray-finned fish. So the moral of your story, and the moral of all of these stories, I'm going to delete this from my slides and ignore that, is keep searching, keep looking, persevere. When you find something, maybe save the link. References, I actually even do have a reference slide. I just haven't been adding to it. I'm going to go back and do that though. Today, you will complete slides 16, 17, and 18, or at least somewhere around, you'll have 3 geologic timescale. You're going to look at the evolution of the class of fish. Your class is this category. And then you're going to look at the evolution of the family or the order. Family or the order, or both. Like, those are the options for you to search. Good luck, have fun, and I'm excited to see what you come up with. See you soon.